is the Apparelist podcast, designed to bring you real-life conversation about high-level topics relevant to the decorated apparel community.
What's up, Apparelist family? We are rocking over here in anticipation of June and, of course, the upcoming Apparel Decoration Summit, which is happening June 3rd through 5th in glorious Nashville, Tennessee. I'm personally excited. I love Nashville. I love the event. This is our second year in, and we're super excited to connect with a lot of the industry people. The event is going to be next level with some of the best in the industry, discussing hot topics like the current state of the economy, how to grow your business to the next revenue level, and more. But one topic of particular growing interest is print on demand, or POD. And we're seeing a lot of discussion and a lot of business, acumen going around about this. We all know the massive impact that COVID had on consumer buying habits, and POD, in my opinion, has now become a highly sought after business model, especially in the apparel decorating space. But that being said, there's a lot to the print on demand world. So we thought, what better way to dive in than bring in a few experts to discuss the topic in depth this month. So I want everybody to give a huge warm welcome to our guests from Alpha Broder. We have David Clifton, Chief Marketing and Customer Experience Officer.
Glad to be back and looking forward to the Apparel Decorator Summit as well in Nashville. That's an event we look forward to. We attended last year and look forward to being there again this year. Glad to be here.
Yeah, always happy to have you. And of course, our listeners are also familiar. You've been on our show quite a few times. You're becoming a fan favorite quickly, so thanks for joining. We also have Drew Coffey, the VP of POD Solutions at Alpha Broder. Drew, thanks for jumping on with us today.
Thanks, Cassie. So glad to be here today.
Absolutely. And finally, last but certainly not least, we have John Piasta, VP of Business Development for Alpha Broder. John, happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Cassie.
Well, you all are just like making waves in the POD space. So let's talk about that. Let's just jump right in. Print on demand is all the rage right now. We are seeing tons of traffic on the Apparelist website about this. I've had lots of conversations with David about this. So let's just dive in. David, when did you first start seeing the topic of POD, the business model of POD, pick up speed in the apparel decoration industry?
It's interesting. I would say probably in its kind of recent form, I guess, in print on demand, calling it print on demand, maybe 18 months ago, something like that, maybe 18 to 24 months ago. I mean, obviously we've been dealing with direct film and direct DTG and DTF and things like that for a number of years, direct to garment in particular. But it really didn't take a form of print on demand, I would say, at least kind of as we began to kind of frame it up, probably, like I said, 18 months ago, when we really started looking into the space specifically, and looking at kind of the growth and the activity around it. So yeah, it's probably that kind of time frame when we started kind of putting the pieces together. I think that our channel's been servicing print on demand, call it maybe passively, for a number of years. As these businesses have started to kind of pop up, and I know we'll get into a little bit more discussion on when we saw things really begin to jump. But obviously, COVID was a huge driver of a lot of online activity and Shopify type stores and Shopify platforms that really are kind of the I don't know if the birthplace, but it's certainly the breeding ground for print on demand and activity out there. So probably, like I said, probably 18 months ago, we started really kind of calling it print on demand and thinking about it like that. But if we really trace it back, probably COVID was the biggest spike in that beginning to happen in our space. Yeah.
I find it interesting, a couple different influences on this. So I kind of want to parse those out a little bit. The first thought process I'm hearing is there are some industry influences. And then the other thought process I'm hearing behind this is there are some global influences. So Drew, being the VP of POD Solutions, in addition to COVID, what other influences has the global economy or global events had on the POD space?
Well, good question, Cassie. I think that, you can there's probably not one specific thing that you can point to. I think that sustainability is something that the end buyer is looking to and looking to impact over and over again. So, and they're always looking to minimize the footprint when it comes to sustainability. So when you look at print on demand, that has a major impact. So, and we'll get into that when we dive into some other questions, but that's really helping reduce the carbon footprint when we're reducing waste, we're reducing packaging, when customers change their logo and we're not having to destroy garments. When you think about apparel as a whole, I think it's one of the top two contributors to what's happening when it comes to impacting the environment from an industry. So I think that POD is really helping that moving forward. So that's one of my key points, that when I talk about POD, when I'm talking with customers, when I'm talking with the benefits of POD. So I think that's really helping as we move forward as an industry.
Yeah, sustainability is obviously a huge topic that we've discussed with David a couple times and other people in the industry. And that's really interesting that you point that out, because when I think about, that aspect, I think about like the topic of like fast fashion and Amazon and all of those things that sort of perpetuated additional waste and textile waste. But then you make an excellent point talking about how POD sort of helps in that almost, which is interesting. I'm hearing some other influences. David, you mentioned direct film printing, direct garment printing, some of these things that are happening within our industry space specifically. And John and David, maybe you guys can talk to that a bit more. Are there any other specific driving factors to POD within our industry? And it doesn't even have to be technology. What are we seeing in terms of change when it comes from like a business model for apparel decorators?
I can go ahead there. I think there's a few trends to your point around global macro factors and how much change has been accelerated post-COVID, but then really the compounding effects of COVID. I think another big one to build upon, Drew, on the sustainability side is also just access to inventory. And I think when you look at what print on demand offers, it offers flexible inventory management for many of these these web stores, these different Shopify, these other platforms that are able to fulfill consumer demands, but also help with the working capital of many of our customers. And so I think that's one major component of it. And I think another global trend, as I look at other areas where print on demand meets really that need of anyone who wants to wear apparel. It's customization, it's localized production, partnering with local businesses, all on top of everything Drew was mentioning on sustainability. And so when you think about major macro problems, from digital transformation to working capital improvement to offering unique personalized solutions and customized apparel, to then being able to produce it locally and sustainably, I think that kind of encompasses for me when I think of what POD unlocks and what it enables many of our customers to be able to serve.
Yeah, that's perfect. It actually makes me curious about this next question I have for you. It leads perfectly into it. So we're talking about all these things that have, these external factors that have influenced our industry to move toward a more POD model. However, shifting gears a little bit and sort of reversing that mindset, you sort of talk about this, John. How are then we seeing decorators change their business model? Because I think in the past, a lot of decorators sort of, had a very certain tried and true traditional business model, screen printing for these larger orders, keeping larger inventories. But what I'm hearing from all of you is that that's not necessarily the case anymore. I mean, we're seeing a lot lower, inventories, the supply chain, everything, right? So maybe Drew, you can elaborate about that a little bit. How have you seen it shift the way decorators are doing business and interacting with clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So going off of John's point, about the effects, Overall, number one, the simple answer is it's allowing decorators to say yes to more jobs, which is great. And, if you think about it, it's really hard for a consumer not to find what they're looking for when it comes to personalized apparel produced locally, as John mentioned, at a unit of one. And it is opening up new demand channels from our existing customers and customers from around the world. It's kind of a global economy at this point. So I think the main shift is how they allocate resources. A lot of our decorators are putting resources traditionally into their production. And now they're opening up more resources and capital to sales, marketing, and especially e-commerce, as John mentioned, with web stores and ways to create more demand for their businesses. So, that opens up a lot of different benefits and challenges to the decorator. I think some of the benefits are, improvements in technology with like workflow management and, better equipment that's out there today. It's better for their labor planning, better for, during deep peak season and off peak season. But then, some of the challenges that I think some of the decorators are facing during my conversations with the decorators is also technology too. Because there's so many options that are out there and it's moving very, very fast. So I think doing their homework and making sure they make the right decisions are key. And then obviously there's the economic component, making sure that, ensuring profitability is also key. Making sure that it's not a race to the bottom, especially in this kind of new emerging market that's out there. So, the way that they're doing business and how they're selling to clients and things like that is definitely changing, but making sure it's profitable and making the right decisions when it comes to the technology and the equipment that they're putting in their businesses is very important.
Along those lines of the challenges, and I'm glad you outlined this, Drew, because as amazing as this business model can be for people and as beneficial as it is, there are challenges, right? Just like anything. It's really interesting. We had a printer write an article for us probably a few months ago now about why his print-on-demand business failed. And he was very candid, very transparent. He is still running certain aspects of his business. He has completely shifted his mindset, but he outlined some of those challenges as well. And I think there's a lot to learn there. So along those lines, David, what advice do you have to offer to shops who are just now making the leap into POD, who are interested in POD, who want to know more about this? What's some advice so that maybe, can help those challenges?
Well, I mean, again, to some of the points that you made, it is, first of all, just to be clear too, print on demand is all the rage, I guess, but screen print, traditional screen print is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And so there, I think part of it is just kind of taking a measured approach of saying, look at your current business and you look at your screen print business or your traditional business and make sure that business is in good shape and you're focusing there and appropriately. And then finding spots in print on demand that could work for you given your customer mix, your even where you are geographically, looking at those things to really gauge and to determine is print on demand a right approach for your shop and for your business. If it is, great. If it isn't, there are probably some outsourced opportunities around print on demand you could find, to Drew's point, that lets you say yes to some projects that are jobs that you couldn't say yes to before. But it is something to be really, I think, cautious about because and think it through, because there are from the different deco methods, whether it's direct to garment or direct to film or other deco methods you're trying to figure out, to inventory management and things like that really are different with print on demand. Most of our traditional customers, I mean, they're used to kind of doing business real time, and print on demand requires some level of inventory management and inventory holding, maybe 7 to 10 days. You have to have the inventory there to hit the SLAs, as opposed to typical promotional product orders, if you will. You get the order, product ships in, you produce the order, you ship the order out, as opposed to holding inventory and waiting for the stores to come in. So there's some definitely different dynamics you got to think through. And Drew made the point too around technology. Technology really is a requirement to run an efficient print on demand operation. to both receive the product, produce the product, and then ship the product out. And in many cases also coordinate multiple pieces of that same order coming together independently in the shop. So technology plays a key role. So it's kind of all those factors, looking at your business, your current business, how that's operating, your customer mix that you have, and the opportunity within that customer mix to leverage print on demand, and also looking beyond your existing customers into more of the broader models like a Printify model or Gelato or Guten, different players who are offering print on demand platforms that are driving demand in. Determining if that's something you'd want to do is another big decision point. And then obviously, all of that kind of culminates in, the production machinery that you're looking to invest in and the route you want to go there, DTG, DTF, which way you want to go there. So a lot of things to consider, but I think the one key piece is that screen print's not going away. As popular as print on demand is, we have a great screen print platform and business out there that print on demand is I would say augmenting, not necessarily replacing, which is good.
Love it. Thank you for bringing your point, because some people might think that screen printing's going away, but I wholeheartedly agree. There's just no way. There's such a need for it. Would you say your advice would change? So say you have somebody who's never worked in the decorated apparel space. They've not previously run a screen printing business. They've not previously offered any decorating capabilities, completely new to the industry, but they see this huge opportunity in print on demand. And what I'm talking about is a lot of people out there, entrepreneurs, are loving like this retail crossover where they want to start their own apparel brand, and print on demand is like a way they're exploring doing that. Would you change your advice, David, or what perhaps can a completely new person to the industry take away from that? What you kind of just said in launching the business.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question. And again, I think that what this is affording a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs or creative folks, is you don't have to actually get into production. You can actually whether it's Printful, that's just a purely in-sourced kind of production platform, or using Printify or Gelato, one of these print on demand platforms. I mean, it really, as a creative and as a creator or an entrepreneur, you have a great opportunity to get in and leverage the infrastructure that's kind of being put together out there. If you were contemplating, kind of saying, I want to be on the production side of it, and I want to participate in the production, piece of it. Yeah, then I think, I don't know if it's advice. I mean, obviously, the same thing. You kind of go through the same kind of decision-making process of looking and saying, who are the customers you're planning to serve, and what's the best process for serving those customers? What's the most profitable, most efficient, most sustainable, not in a sustainable way, but like keep your business going kind of way. You kind of look at that and you look at that decision framework and sort of say, what's the best way to approach this? The good news is that there's just tons of options out there, which I think it's good news, but it can also be overwhelming. But if you're coming into this business and you're wanting to, again, be an entrepreneur, be a creator, it's wide open. If you want it on the production side, probably some other decisions to try to think through, whether it's shifting your existing business and allocating space and things like that to print on demand, or starting a completely new business around print on demand. The primary decision factor there probably is just your demand funnel, how you're getting demand for your production. How are you going to go drive demand, generate demand, things like that? There's a bunch of options for those things. So it's a pretty interesting, exciting time if you want to kind of get into the production side of the business.
I think the one thing I'd add, Cassie, is like the point David's making around incrementality, I think is really important, because if you're currently in the space, like screen printing's not going away. That's incredibly important. It's how does POD enable you to get more jobs, get more orders, and also get more large orders as well as an additional offering. But then I think when you're net new, the incrementality goes back to where David's going in terms of who am I serving? What do they need? And as a result, then what production's going to support that? And I think to that decision-making framework he's outlining, there's a lot of different ways to go about that, through an in-source, through an outsource model. And I think it comes back to really, if you're net new to the space, who are you trying to serve and what do they need is the place to start. And there's multiple ways to then rapidly test and get into the game.
Yeah, and Cassie, my final point on that one about, if you're new and you're looking to learn, you're trying to figure things out. The great thing about this platform that we're on and our industry as a whole is that we're all willing to share. And I kind of go by 3 C's: communicate, collaborate, and cultivate. Because this industry is moving so fast, you just got to really put yourself out there, whether it's actively or passively, and just get on social media, attend events, and just do something, but just put yourself out there and just learn, because if you're going to do it in a box, that's probably how you're going to fail. So, listen to Apparel, listen to Cassie, listen to David, and find other media outlets. So those are just great opportunities for your business to figure out new things and try things and test, as John pointed out. But again, those are my 3 C's, my 3 tips: communicate, collaborate, and cultivate.
So much. If you take anything away from this episode, listeners, please write down those 3 C's. That just is so impactful, Drew. I appreciate you offering that. You guys, your opinion on this is obviously very experienced, right? And you're seeing this happen. So then, not totally shifting gears, but any success stories, like John, are you seeing Alpha Broder customers successfully managing these POD orders? What are maybe some specific examples you can share? Even perhaps how Alpha comes in as a key partner for these types of orders.
Well, I think given the role that Drew's playing here, I'm going to let him answer that. But I think coming in from my background, both on the apparel side, but also in retail, I have just been amazed at what I've seen our customers doing to be able to fulfill this demand. I think there's various different operations, various different technologies, and many new entrants in terms of serving this demand. I think I'll let Drew speak to some of the nuances and some of the more success stories, but I would just echo that it's pretty incredible what we're seeing some of our customers do, and it gets us really energized and excited.
Yeah, I'll touch on that really quick. And David mentioned it a little bit about, the print on demand kind of order flow. And, we're traditionally talking about an order of 1 or low minimum orders. So in order to make those profitable, you really have got to streamline that process. And then in the last 24 to 36 months, we have seen a huge number of increase from our decorator customers start to integrate with us. And traditionally, from an integration standpoint, customers have just gotten data from us, whether it's inventory or product data feeds. But now they're truly starting to do live purchase orders with us, get invoicing from us from an integration standpoint, and also get carton extract files. And carton extract files gives customers the ability to scan packages when they get into the decorator's facilities, so they know exactly what they're receiving rather than actually count the product when it comes in. And those less touches, now equals higher efficiencies, stronger output, and higher margins. And again, when you're talking about a unit of 1 or low minimums, that's key to having a high margin, higher efficient business for print on demand, in conjunction with larger production orders when it comes to screen print. So it's not a specific success story of a large, win or anything like that, but that's just a big win for a business overall when they're getting into print on demand. And our IT team and myself are happy to talk to a decorator about starting that process moving forward in that journey to integrating their business when it comes to order flow. So I think that's a real big win, Cassie.
Oh, definitely. And Drew, you already started in on this, but other than reaching out to you, your team, whatever, what are some other ways decorators can connect with Alpha Broder to just learn more, maybe explore some partnering opportunities, things like that?
Yeah, so I think the main way is alphabroder.com. Traditional methods of obviously seeing our products and our resource center. We've got a Deco Hub on there that provides education around decoration opportunities. You can always reach out to me directly. My email is dcoffey, COFFEY, @alphabroder.com, and I'm happy to engage with any of our customers. So that's how you get in touch with me and Alpha Broder.
Absolutely. John, David, anything else you want to add to that? Any additional ways to connect or get in touch with y'all?
I think Drew did a good job there summing it up. And like I said, print on demand, he's leading the charge for us. So I would definitely reach out to Drew. Obviously, Deco Hub is a great resource for information and just ideas and community around this. I just want to say that I do think that you asked about wins and success stories, and Drew was teeing it up, and I think one of the really cool things is that this isn't, and John mentioned it earlier too. This isn't about incrementality. This is not about replacing something necessarily. This is about more access to more opportunity for our customers and for our customers' customers, and it's really about expanding the reach of our channel, which is super cool and a lot of fun to see happen. So I think the big wins here are for decorators who are getting into this or seeing opportunity here to pick up on some of the technology, look at some of the workflow management through their shop. The feedback we've heard from customers is it makes them a better decorator. It makes them more efficient. It makes them more accessible to a broader range of customers. So it really is just about expansion and incrementality. And that to me is like one of the coolest things about the whole on-demand space is that it really is. I mean, this thing's got like a 25 to 30%, kind of growth rate year over year over the next 5 years. And so it really is when you think about printing and custom printing, it's again, what they said many times, and it's very true. Screen print's not going away. It's there, and it's a huge part of the business. This is pretty much where the growth is. So this is on top of that. So again, back to that incrementality kind of theme, print on demand. I think for all of us at Alpha Broder, we look at it as again incremental and new growth, not replacing and not taking the place of, but incrementality. So that I think is the most exciting part about it. So please reach out, get in touch with us, and talk to Drew. And we'd love to kind of talk about different opportunities and different approaches. And they're all kind of unique. So it's kind of fun to try to problem solve around this.
Absolutely. And of course, selfless plug coming in hot, apparelist.com. We have plenty of resources on the topic. I had mentioned in an article earlier. But we've dived deep into this topic before. It's something we're really excited about as well. And we love watching the growth around it and just how, as all of these amazing expert guests have pointed out, how it complements current technologies and what apparel decorators are doing right now. It's just really cool to see. I'm excited to follow along. So again, apparelist.com, please feel free to reach out to us, connect with us directly. We're happy to connect you with, again, all of our expert guests and resources and all of the cool things that make this community so strong when it comes to networking and education. Drew, John, David, thank you so much for joining our June podcast episode. Really look forward to connecting with you guys in the future.
Thanks, Cassie.
Thanks, Cassie.
Thank you, Cassie.